Hey, what's going on, everybody? Big win for the Miami Hurricanes,
Recording stopped.
85-57. Welcome to the live postgame show. I'm going to bring you Jim Larranaga and players live Zoom interviews with reporters as soon as we get that. And I just want to make sure we're all set up to go there. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this win? Are the Miami Hurricanes finally for real? I know they had that big win over Duke. I think there was some hesitancy even still. Even with that loss to Florida State, they go to 5-1. Huge bounce back win tonight. I expect Miami to be in the top 25 rankings. I expect a lot of recognition to be to this team as legitimate ACC title contenders. Certainly a lot to go. Miami improves to 6-1 in the conference. Still 13 more conference games left, and a lot still to work on. However, a big statement win tonight by the Hurricanes. Got out to that great start. I will get into a lot of that here in a little bit. I just don't want to miss what Jim Larranaga has to say in the players, so I want to make sure I'm focused on that and make sure to give you guys the comments there. So just quickly, I want to make sure I mention Sam Waardenburg before we get into this. A huge performance, and if you guys saw my the live game thread on InsideTheU.com, I do a players to watch for the game. Obviously, Armando Bacot for North Carolina, but my player to watch for this game was Sam Waardenburg. And he's not the highest scorer for Miami, but I thought he was very important. I think you saw why tonight. He had that huge performance in the first half, finished with 21 points, 5 3-pointers, 4 in the first half. I thought he did a good job of keeping Armando Bacot out on the perimeter, but he knocked down open shots when Bacot was able to, when he was supposed to guard Waardenburg on stretching out, and that's not a strength of Bacot's, and Miami was able to exploit it on the offensive end as opposed to it being a weakness for Miami on the other end of the court. So certainly Sam Waardenburg deserves a lot of credit for this game, for his huge point performance tonight, but also with what he did with Bacot on the defensive end. And I will get into some things that I saw Miami doing in that matchup that was really able to keep Armando down in the first half. He finished with 15 points, but I thought their work early in the game really set the tone for the rest of the way. Once again, if you're new to the live postgame show, Jim Larranaga and players will be meeting with reporters on Zoom, and I will bring you that as soon as we get going here. Right now, we're all just kind of waiting in the Zoom, waiting for Coach Larranaga first, and then players is typically the order it goes. And if there's time, I might jump over to North Carolina. We'll just see how this is going here. A little bit of my thoughts about North Carolina, and I know Hubert Davis had a lot of positive things to say about Miami coming into this game, particularly with their dribble drive ability, the one-on-one stuff that they're able to do, what Miami's able to do at the guard level, and North Carolina had struggled.
Great. Just give me one second.
Larranaga here.
Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Recording in progress.
Coach, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can.
All right, great. We've got head coach Jim Larranaga here. We'll start with an opening statement, and then we'll go into questions. Coach, whenever you're ready.
Well, there was no question our guys were really ready to play and execute our game plan to perfection. One of the advantages we had was we had a week to prepare for this game, and we got a lot of rest, so we had a ton of energy. And right from the opening tip, we demonstrated that energy and effort at both ends of the court. We were very aggressive, trying to keep the ball away from Armando Bacot. He was tremendous in the last two games, and we had to somehow slow him down.
All right, if you have questions for Coach L, please use the hand raise function and wait to be called on. We'll start with Cal Friedman from Cane Sport. Cal.
Coach, congratulations on the win. Two questions. Firstly, on Armando Bacot, what was the game plan into limiting his possession? And then secondly, on the three-pointers tonight, 13 as a team, how have you been so prolific from beyond the arc this season?
Well, let's talk about the defense on Armando first. What we basically told the players is that no one guy can guard him, and that we were going to have to rotate guys from the backside of the floor, help Sam. He was going to have to try to front him, which isn't easy. And then, switch on to Armando like Jordan Miller and Anthony Walker did throughout the game, and just try to limit his number of touches. And because of the pressure on the perimeter, our guards were doing such a great job on their guards, and those guys were missing threes. Armando was not able to really get in a good rhythm early in the game. What was the second question?
Just the 3-pointers compared to last season.
Well, you got to understand now the guys are really sharing the ball well. We're a good 3-point shooting team. And when you get good looks repeatedly, which we did, it makes a big difference when you're shooting in rhythm. And I think a lot of credit goes to Charlie Moore and Sam Waardenburg. And then, the recipient of so many of those passes is Isaiah Wong and Cam Auguste, who are our leading scorers and really, really good at scoring the ball.
Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald now.
Hey, Jim, congratulations. I had 2 questions also. One is, did you ever imagine a blowout when you were planning and preparing for this game? Did you ever imagine that the game would be so lopsided? And then my other question is about Sam. If you could just talk about Sam's first half. I mean, he was just he hit all his shots, and he just went to the rim so aggressively on those dunks and everything. If you could talk about Sam, and also just, did you ever imagine a blowout against North Carolina?
When we're planning, we plan for the game to be decided in the last minute of play. What offense we're going to run, what defense we're going to play, how we're going to guard, who should be in there to rebound. Because most games in the ACC do come down to the last minute, sometimes the last possession. And we try to prepare our guys for that. Of course, we love that we were able to get out in front and stay out in front the whole game. Sam Waardenburg with rest is so good. And he plays so hard, he cramped up with 10 minutes to go. He didn't play in the last – he played. He said he was good, but he wasn't. I put him in. He immediately came out because he started to cramp again. But when you give Sam Waardenburg a chance to rest, and he was shooting the ball well in practice, he can be a major factor for us at both ends of the court, because he's the one responsible for guarding Bacot to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then because our guards are so good at getting to the rim, oftentimes Sam is hanging on the perimeter. When he goes 4 for 4 from 3 in the first half, obviously that gives him and his teammates a lot of confidence.
Going out to Matt Norlander from CBS Sports. Matt.
Hey, Jim. Just wondered if you could speak big picture, on the heels of this kind of victory, for your program to be sitting here now, 14-4, obviously still work to do. But after the past 3 years or so, right, where you guys were kind of stuck in the mire, the aftermath of the FBI stuff, you eventually got cleared. But as you well know, it just took time to regain your momentum. Can you speak to how satisfying and perhaps affirming it is to have your team perform at this level to this point in the season after enduring in some obscurity everything you went through in the past 3 years?
Hey, Matt, when's the last time I saw you?
Well, I think we briefly crossed paths on the trail over the summer when you were with Caputo, but it's been a while, and good to see you again, Jim.
Okay, good seeing you, Matt, and I appreciate you asking the question. Here's my approach to everything. I have got a very simple philosophy. It's based on 3 words: attitude, commitment, and class. My attitude has always been positive. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And I shared that with my staff and with my players. Look at, everybody goes through adversity in life. How we handle it will determine whether we're ever able to overcome it. And we're heading in the right direction, both this year and with our recruiting moving forward. The second part of the philosophy is commitment, where you have to be committed physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And the beautiful thing about this team is they really are. Right? They're very committed and to each other. They trust each other, like playing with each other. And I give a lot of credit to Charlie Moore and to Jordan Miller, because those guys, they were at other schools. They got recruited highly. They could have gone someplace else. It's not that freshmen couldn't, but these are older, experienced guys. Sometimes those guys come in and they want to show you what they can do. Instead, Charlie and Jordan have just embraced our philosophy. And then the third part of the philosophy is about class. We tell our players, you got to be role models. You got to behave in a first-class manner. Everything you do on and off the court is a reflection of me and my staff, the athletic department, the university. So we got guys who are working on their master's degree, are terrific students. They work hard at everything they do. And I'm just so proud of them. But as you said, we got a lot of work ahead of us. What are we, 6-1 right now?
Yes.
Yeah, 6-1 in the league. We got 13 more conference games, and every one of them is a challenge.
We got time for two more from Coach L. We'll go to Luke Cheney and then David Lang. Luke, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, congrats on the win. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of the student section in tonight's victory?
That makes a huge difference to our players and to the coaches to have the support for the program from the community, from the student body. And I hope they'll be there again on Saturday when we play Florida State. It's our arch rival. Excuse me. So I give a lot of credit to the student body. They were terrific. And I don't know if you saw it, but our players went in the stands to thank them for that.
We'll go to David Lang, WPLG now.
Hey, Coach, two questions for you. First of all, what is it about you that has had so much success against the Blue Bloods in the ACC, both Duke and North Carolina? And then my second question is, do you think it's time for this team to be in the top 25?
Okay. The first thing is all of my success, wherever I've been, has been based on a tremendous team effort by my staff. And Chris Caputo does a fantastic job. Bill Courtney, DJ, Irving, my new assistant. These guys do a tremendous job of preparing our players. And then winning is about your players executing. These guys, I didn't even call a timeout tonight. I think I called a timeout just to get the subs in at the end. But, when you have players who work so hard and have learned what's expected of them. So our guys have fought through a lot of adversity, as everybody knows, but they're becoming better for it. That they've learned that they can overcome all these challenges.
I got one last one from Michael Euro of 305 Sports. Michael.
Hey, Jim, heading into FSU on Saturday, how prepared is your team? And, how have you seen the locker room, invest into that rivalry game?
Well, we played FSU in Tallahassee just last week, and it was a tremendous college game. And we had a 1-point lead with 7 seconds to go. And unfortunately, they made 2 free throws to win it. But that's very typical of an ACC game and very typical of a rivalry like ours with Florida State. They've kind of had our number for the last several years when we've been shorthanded. But hopefully we'll learn from that first game and do a better job against them this time.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Congrats on the win. We'll have players in shortly.
So there's Coach Larranaga just wrapping things up. Just a couple minutes before players get on, and once again, I'll switch back. Definitely some interesting things that I definitely want to get to. You heard Jim Larranaga speak in quite great lengths of just kind of some of the things that they've been through as a program this last few years. If you guys don't know, it's 3 straight losing seasons, first time since early 90s. But here's Sam Waardenburg.
All right. Sam Waardenburg here. If you have questions for Sam, please use the hand raise function and wait to be called on. Sam, by the way, with a career high 21 points tonight. We'll start with Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Michelle.
Hey, Sam, congratulations.
Thank you.
You just look like you were so fired up for this game from the start of the game, your energy, your confidence. What was it about this game, and were you surprised with 17 points at halftime?
We the team as a whole, obviously going to Florida State, that one hurt a bit, but everyone this past week, the 7 days off really helped. But this past week, everyone's been like really fired up, trying to get back on that, getting back on that win streak. So coming into the game, we had a great game plan. But yeah, I feel like the energy from the team just throughout these practices has been at a whole new level, and we know we're a very good team, and can compete in the ACC at a very high level. So coming into this game, yeah, we had that on our mind, and they kind of just helped me a bit, feeding off everyone's energy. Got the looks that I got, I was able to hit them, knock them down, and so yeah, that was good.
Did you ever imagine that the game would be so lopsided that you'd be able to beat North Carolina by that big of a margin?
Watching film and everything, they're a good team, and they've shot the ball really well so far coming into this game. So I think though we did a great job defensively, making sure that we packed the paint, kept it out of Baycott's hands. He's been on a real tear this last couple weeks. So I feel like the coaches prepared us really well to try to stop them, and that obviously showed.
Go to Luke Chaney from the Miami Hurricane now. Luke.
Hey, Sam, congrats on the win. So you scored a lot of points from the three-point line off of pops, off ball screens. Were these pops part of the offensive game plan heading into today?
Yeah, like coming in, we were sticking with our little 5-out offense that we're really comfortable in right now. We're building a lot of good chemistry out of that, and yeah, we knew UNC were either going to switch 1 through 5, what they didn't, or they were going to be in like kind of a drop. And on those side ball screens, they're going to be icing those, sending them to the baseline. So when they were doing that, we knew we had opportunities for me to pop back and get a few open looks there. And it was good that they went down. But also Zay and Charlie Cam, they're coming off those ball screens, really working out, especially with those bigs in the drop. And they were just great, either getting to the rim, scoring, finding their mid range, or finding me. That was really good tonight. So I feel like we executed really well out of the offense that we're very comfortable in right now.
Going now to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny.
Sam, congrats on the win. Curious about how, good you guys are at spacing, passing the ball, sharing it. It just seems like there's so much respect for each other's games and letting each other's games just flow the way that you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. That's really, you described it really well. That's the feeling we have out there right now. It's that trust in one another. Everyone really is trusting, and that's also starting to really reflect on the defensive end as well. Obviously my game plan coming in guarding Baycott was just the front, and I knew I had my guys back there, and I think we had a few steals. If I was out there showing on the ball screen, I think Zay, Charlie, Cam, and Jordan, even though they did a great job just getting their hands in there and going after the ball. But offensively, it's just trust, and that's something that's really showing in this team right now. Everyone's trusting one another.
We got time for 2 more for Sam, then he has to get going. We'll go Michael Euro, then Wyatt Copeland. Michael.
Hey, Sam. Obviously a great win, but, heading into Saturday, how invested is your team into, getting that win over Florida State? Yeah,
guys are hungry. Very hungry for this next one. We played very hard. I feel like up at FSU, we put ourselves in a great position, a great area to win that game. But coming into this, guys are very hungry, and obviously the coach is going to give us a great game plan as usual, and we're going to have to go out there and execute. The Florida State's very good right now. I think they got Duke tonight, so we'll watch that, see how they're playing there, and hungry's the word.
Last question from Wyatt Kopelman of WVUM. Wyatt.
Sam, congratulations on the win. How impressed were you with your team's ability to take care of the ball tonight?
Yeah, great job. I feel like I think Florida State might have been our worst game turnovers-wise in a while. But apart from that, team's been doing a great job taking care of the ball. And yeah, that the more shots that we get, we're such a good shot-making team. We've got great shot makers. The more shots we can get, that puts us in a better position to win those games. So going forward, that's going to be a huge emphasis of ours is continue to take care of that ball and keep sharing it.
All right, Sam, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Player in shortly.
Eric Spoelstra was coaching this team, he'd be super proud because of the spacing and the discipline that they show.
So wraps it up with Sam Waardenburg there. I think we'll get one more player, as you heard there. So there'll be one more player in here. A lot to get into. I'm really looking forward to discussing this game, but we got to do these interviews first and knock this out. A couple notes there. So Miami snaps a 5-game losing streak to North Carolina. First win over the Tar Heels since 2018. They're touching on that Florida State game coming up again. Kind of a weird thing in the schedule. They play on Saturday at 2 o'clock at the Watsco Center after losing to Florida State last week 65-64. Miami's lost 8 straight to Florida State. You heard Sam Waardenburg talk there. You can definitely tell that this team wants to play better than they did. Only put up to 64 points. Miami has been scoring points this year. In the 85 isn't a surprise. That with what Miami's been doing offensively, with where they rank in offensive efficiency. So that 64-point performance against Florida State, I know these guys want to come back, and they're at home, and certainly losing that game I think is going to fuel them for Saturday. Certainly they got to correct some things from that first game, but Miami, big game tonight, big performance, 85-57. There's a lot to get into. We've heard a lot about Armando Bacot, the defense that Miami's played on that. I want to be able to explain some of the things I noticed as soon as we wrap this up here. But we have Isaiah Wong here.
Isaiah, can you unmute? Great.
Yep. I can hear you.
Great. All right. We've got guard Isaiah Wong here is at 997 points in his collegiate career. If you have questions for Isaiah, please use the hand raise function and wait to be called on. We will start off with Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Michelle.
Isaiah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions if you don't mind. One is, can you talk about Sam Waardenburg and the game he had tonight, especially the first half? What did you see from him from the start of the game? And then secondly, did you ever picture that you guys are going to blow out North Carolina the way you did and be leading by 27 at halftime?
Sam's a really good player, just coming off his injury, coming back from the season, and he always been a good piece for our team. And he been the main piece, even though he's not. Some games he don't score that much, but he's always been one of those main players that we need on our team. A stretch 5 that everybody can rely on, and I feel like the scouting report is really on me, Cam, and Charlie, and they leave Sam wide open, so he shoots threes, and when he does, he can go off at any time. If he has open shot, he's going to hit it at any time, and he's one of the good players and great pieces we need. Yeah. Can you repeat the second question?
The second question was, did you ever imagine that you'd be leading North Carolina by 27 points at the half?
No, not really. I come into thinking every game's going to be a close game. It's just going to bite down to the wire. Like every ACC game going to be tough, like one of those games. And we were just prepared for the whole game, and we did what we had to do coming into the first half and second half.
All right, we'll go now to Luke Chaney from the Miami Hurricane. Luke.
Hey, Isaiah, congrats on the win. So you made 5 3-pointers tonight. A lot of them came in the first half. Can you talk a little bit about how important it was for you to get going from deep?
It was real important just coming into the game. I was just trying to – a lot of teams are doing scouting reports saying I can only drive to the basket, but I'm a decent shooter. So just coming into every game, I just got to switch my game up a little, just coming in – like I said, just coming in every game, just switch my game up a little, just seeing what the scouting report is, and just learn every game, because every game they're going to switch the defense up and just try to take my game away. So I just got to adapt it and try to get better.
We'll go now to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Man.
Hey, Isaiah, congrats. You guys had a season low 4 turnovers. It's really impressive how clean a basketball game you guys play, spacing. There were times you were double teamed, you couldn't even see, and you just knew to trust your teammate to be where you were going to throw the ball. Can you talk about the way you guys worked to perfect that, and just how clean a basketball game you guys played in terms of turnovers?
With the team we have a lot of veterans coming with this team, so they already know, like, hey, if they get double, the next man got to come up and get the ball. So it's just really how we play is just, it feels easy, and just getting getting to the passes, not turning the ball over. It just really helps the team and just keeps the game keep on going and rolling pace. But with the team, we're not selfish with the ball, so we're not creating turnover. We just pass. If we double team, we just pass to the next man, next open man, and that's what's good about Miami.
Do you think that's a secret sauce to your guys' success? And is it a big difference maybe from other years that you've been here?
The big success is we sharing the ball at a good rate, and we have multiple scorers that can get to the paint, and we have multiple scorers that can shoot threes, and we have a lot of people that can we have trust in each other. So that's what we're good at. That's what we're good on.
Going now to Chris Stock from Inside the U. Chris.
Hey Isaiah, the step back three that we've seen you shoot, you shot it tonight. You've been making that. How much work have you put into that? Is there some players that you watched in the off season to kind of work on that shot? It seems to be a real weapon for you.
Just every day I come into the gym, just work on my craft, and just coming in, just think about, hey, what am I going to do next game, and just like every game I see like the little openings I see just coming into the game, and the next day I practice on like how I can get open, and I just take shots that I know I can make. So I practice that every day, and coming into this game, y'all just saw what happened.
All right, we got time for two more for Isaiah. We'll go to Wyatt Copeman and Michael Euro. Wyatt.
Isaiah, congratulations on the win. A couple of close contests this team's been involved in coming up to this game. How much of this is going to prepare you all for your next crack at taking an FSU at home?
I feel like we're going to be more prepared for what they're going to come into next game, and it's going to be a really grit and grind game like last time. But I think like I said, we're going to be more prepared, and we have a little grudge that we need to get off our chest, and so we're going to come back strong that next game at home. So we coming.
Last question for Isaiah comes from Michael Euro, 305 Sport.
Yeah, Isaiah, can you talk about the student section? Almost 6,000 people at the game today. And do you recall potentially any games with that type of environment since you came to Miami?
I think my first game when we played Louisville, that's the largest crowd I've been in for college. But like for this year, this has been the largest crowd I've been in my whole college career. But I don't really know how big was my freshman year game, but it was pretty packed that game. But this year it was pretty packed, and I like how the team performed, and I performed, and we gave them a show today. So hopefully they can come back for more and more games the whole season.
All right, Isaiah, thank you for your time. Everyone else, thank you. Hope to see you Saturday afternoon. Miami hosts Florida State.
So that wraps it up there with Isaiah Wong. Sam Waardenburg earlier, if you're just jumping on, and then Jim Larranaga to start it off. I am going to see if we can get some North Carolina Zoom here. If there's anything interesting, we'll jump over there. But I want to provide some comments here. Great to see so many people still here on the chat. There's a lot to discuss with this one for sure.
Recording in progress.
All right, Matt, here's Coach Davis.
There's North Carolina head coach Hubert Davis.
Okay, first up for Coach Davis, go ahead, Davis Wallace. Go ahead.
Coach, what is it going to take for the mentality to shift?
That's a great question. At this moment, I don't know. At times throughout the year, I feel like there has been a change in mentality and effort and in toughness. And then we have a game like this. And just very disappointed. Very disappointed in our fight, competitiveness, our effort, just very disappointed.
Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Davis, I was hoping to ask RJ this as well, but I was wondering if you think you have the proper player leadership, and if so, or like who are kind of the players you think are stepping up and being a leader in moments like this in the games that y'all are down big in the first half?
Well, that's, in order to be a good team, you have to have leadership. And there has to be somebody outside of me, outside of myself, outside of the coaching staff, that has a voice in the locker room, that's amongst the players, that binds us together. I've never seen a good team absent of that. At this moment, we do not have any. And that's something that needs to change, that has to change, and must change. And my hope is that it will change. But at this moment, we do not have any.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think halfway through the season you don't have a player leadership?
That's a great question.
So yeah, I just wanted to jump right over there real quick to see if there's anything in particular, but North Carolina certainly has a lot to discuss. I know their beat reporters are going to be talking to Coach Davis about some of the things, some of the issues that North Carolina's had. And just to recap, it's not surprising to hear some of that stuff. I've kind of paid attention to North Carolina this year. I remember Brady Manick early in the year talked a lot about some disappointing things he was seeing. And certainly for Tar Heel fans, they were hoping they were getting past that. But let's talk about Miami here. I want to go back to the Armando Bacot defense. And you kind of heard Coach talk about it. And if you're just jumping on, you can watch this back later. And Sam Waardenburg talked about his role. But some of the things I saw, fronting the post is always a good idea. I think when you have a good low post presence, if you're a little bit overmatched, like Sam is in that particular matchup defensively. So they front the post a little bit. They're looking for backside help at all points. There were things that stood out to me about how Miami defended, though. In particular, I thought Miami did a really good job on some pick and roll stuff by North Carolina, some ball screen stuff that they were doing with their guards, whether it was RJ Davis or even Caleb Love. But what they were doing is, even that if they'd roll Bacot into some action things there, that backside help was still making sure that they were not going off to their opposite wing. They were staying low under the basket until somebody was able to rotate back down, or just to make sure you always had somebody there. And what they were doing is they were trying to make sure that Bacot always had somebody on him, even on some favorable pick and roll stuff. And they were going to let North Carolina see if they could beat them by the pass. So, for example, if it's on the left side and the defenders on that right side wing, what Miami's going to let them do is, okay, we'll pass it around all the way out to the right side again on some swing passes, and they believe that they can get back out there, or they're going to give you that shot. It's always a give and take with certain things, and Miami certainly did not want Bacot to have one of these 29-point games that he had. So not only that were they fronting the post and some help side stuff, but I thought they did a really good job on help side stuff before Bacot even had the ball. On those pick and roll situations, I thought they did a really good job, particularly in that first half, because that's where this game was won. Touched on Sam Waardenburg, the offensive performance he had, but I thought what the team did defensively, did not let Bacot get into a role. And I noticed it really quickly that, it's only 4-6 minutes into the game and Bacot didn't have a shot attempt. And, I didn't even make a mention on the live game thread because that's really early in the game. To make anything, because certainly a guy like that could get going. But I just noticed that, and I was like, well, that's a good start for Miami. Just that he's not getting the shot attempts. I think he might have even had I think he had 2 turnovers there too. So good start for Miami defensively on Bacot. That's obviously with where North Carolina wants to go to. Other options as well. They've got other guys who can play, other guys who can score the ball. But I thought they did a good job on containing Bacot to start, and then they were able to contain the other guys. I want to get into that now. I want to flip this over to you can see it here, North Carolina stats, as we keep this thing going. Okay, so North Carolina, one of the things that makes them tough also, in addition to Bacot, is the play of the guards of RJ Davis and Caleb Love. Both were scoring points. They were their number 2 and 3 scorers. shooting about 44% coming into this one, over 40% from three, and over 80% from the free throw line. So both of those guys, different players, but they had been shooting the ball well and scoring at an efficient level, which is what makes North Carolina tough. And as you see on the stats right here, Caleb Love, 5 points, 2 of 12. Very disappointing performance from him. RJ Davis, 3 of 10. He's a 3-point shooter. He goes 0 for 3 there. Finishes with 9 points. He had the 4 turnovers. So disappointing performance by him as well on the offensive end. Both of those guys I thought struggled on the for guarding Miami's guys. You see McGusty with the 20 points, Wong with 25. We're talking a lot about Sam Waardenburg, but those two guys, once again, this is why this team is dangerous. It's nice that Sam can contribute like this. You're not expecting games like this all the time, but this team is dangerous, most dangerous because of the elite level that Isaiah Wong and Cameron McGusty are playing at. They're very tough to defend. They both can make shots. You heard me on the post game when Isaiah came on. I was very curious about the step back 3-point shot that we've seen Isaiah do more of this year. Last year he was definitely going to the basket. He was spotting up hitting threes, but he's a going to the basket type guy. He would hit pull up jumpers. He's still doing that, but I think we have seen him, pull off this step back three. This, if you watch the NBA, the James Harden shot, it's coming from the right side with Isaiah, but you're seeing him create really good space with his step back stuff. And the key for that shot is obviously the balance. You're going up off balance, but when you're releasing, he's squared up and he's doing a really good job of that. And you touched on, he's been working on it in practice. This isn't just a shot he's thrown out there mid-game against a team like North Carolina in an important ACC game. It's something he's worked on. And I think we've seen Isaiah evolve this year. I know some people are a little bit worried because his scoring isn't as high as it was last year. But if you look at his shooting percentage, if you go in the advanced analytics with the effective field goal percent, the true shooting percentage, those are all up. His field goal percent is much higher than it was a year ago. I think he's close to 48. As you see tonight, he goes 9 of 18. Let's look at more stats from Miami. That stands out. You heard reporters ask about the turnovers. And it's really interesting. I thought, okay, the big thing in this game for Miami, for any college basketball game, you've got to play to your strengths. Teams that can do that with their player roles and play into your strengths always have the upper hand in games, and you want to try to avoid your weaknesses. This is not this isn't just this balanced team that does everything well. Miami does have its weaknesses, but tonight they play to their strengths. I touched on Wong and McGusty. Sam was able to play to his strengths. He's best as that pick and pop guy that can stretch out a defense. You heard Isaiah say, called him a stretch 5. Typically you hear the stretch 4, but yeah, Sam's been playing the 5 this year, stretches it out, connects from long range. We saw this earlier in the year. I think it was against Penn State and Clemson in those back-to-back games. 4 3-pointers apiece. It goes for, I think, 18 and 14 to back-to-back games. And the 6 games since then, he was just 2 of 9 from 30. So while we've seen Sam hit threes in the past, he had been shaky these last 6 games. And you saw tonight, he goes 5 of 6, makes his first 4, or first 4 in the first half. I think he made one, missed one in the second half. Don't remember the order, but certainly excellent performance by Sam. And Sam touched on the positive attitude that he has, the real belief in this team. I think what's great with Sam is 21 tonight, 7 of 9, but he knows that he's not a primary scorer for this team. He knows his role. Key for Sam offensively is to be very good efficiently when he takes a shot. Obviously, 7 of 9, 5 of 6 from 3 is great. That's extremely efficient on offense, and that's great to see because this was a game where they needed him to be on the court, stay out of foul trouble, and he did that and provided the offense. So excellent game by Sam. This is certainly one to build on for the whole team moving forward because they're going to face other inside presence. And there's been times this year, even though they've gotten wins, where they've allowed a little bit more points than they'd like from their top guys on the other team. And I thought that they were able to hold Baycott down and did a good job of that. Another key factor in this one, and I know I want to get into some big picture stuff with where Miami is. How good is this team? I think some people are still wondering. I still am wondering how good this team is. I do have some thoughts on it, but I do want to touch on the turnovers. It would mention that Miami only had 4 turnovers tonight. Look, Miami came into this game leading the ACC in turnover margin. They're not turning the ball over much this year. This was known early in the year. You could see the numbers coming in under 10 quite a bit, whereas the year before, they were going 13, 14, 15, 16. Like the numbers were much higher last year. And I thought early on, you started to see that the turnovers were down. And I thought that was a good sign, and it's continuing ACC play. So the 4 turnovers to Miami, I do want to switch it over to North Carolina. So North Carolina had 14. The -10, the 10 difference is obviously huge. Miami shot it better. There were a lot of factors in this one, but +10 is certainly great. North Carolina came into the game second to last in the ACC in turnover margin. So both teams kind of played to that, the limited turnovers for Miami, and then the high turnover marks for North Carolina, especially in that first half there. You see they had 10 in the first half. Miami goes up by 27. So where is this team? How good is this team? Miami improves to 14-4. Obviously a good mark. 6-1 in the conference. They had that big win against Duke. I was very hesitant on this team because of how they looked against Alabama. A ranked team that lost Alabama, dropped them to 4-3 on the year. So I needed to see more. And as those games came up, I thought it was good that they got these wins. And I do want to bring up the schedule here. But Penn State and Clemson, those were good wins to get that. And then they kind of had some games where they were winning by 10 against some lower level teams. So I think there was still some hesitancy. But as it was going on, and the play of Cam McGusty was still very, very high. He's one of the best guards in the ACC. I've seen almost all the teams play this year. He's definitely very good. I think maybe people a little bit surprised because we've seen Cam play for the Hurricanes the last few years, but his game this year is different. I think you saw tonight even the 20 and 10. He's had double doubles. He's rebounding. I think he still leads the team in rebounding. So he's playing at a really high level. Again, touched on the improvements from Isaiah Wong, and then Charlie Moore. We've obviously seen him have big games. So I think Miami. Dennis says Final Four. Leonard Hamilton after the game, thought Miami was a Final Four caliber team. I thought it was very interesting, not just with what he said there, but with the ACC coaches after Miami beat Duke. Typically every Monday I jump on the Zoom. I listen. I don't always write stuff, but I listen to all the ACC coaches. It's about a 2-hour teleconference. And Miami was a hot topic, and they talked a lot about their thoughts on the Hurricanes. And it was guys that have played Miami jumping in. I thought it was very interesting to get their takes, and they all spoke very highly. It was very surprising in the sense because I think even myself or even maybe the Miami fan base is a little hesitant on this team. But look, 6-1, they're right there. The thing about why this team can continue to stay in that top 5 in the conference is because this isn't one of those strong conference. This isn't one of those strong years for the conference. I don't believe. That doesn't mean Miami's not playing at a high level. They're not a good team. It just means that the teams they're facing, I don't think Virginia's not as good as they've been. Florida State isn't as good as they've been. As 2 examples, North Carolina typically is a ranked team. They're not a top 25 team right now. So Miami can stay up there. There's some other teams. Virginia Tech's starting to kind of get it going a little bit. And they've got, they'll present some challenges too, but they had 3 losses in a row recently. So Miami can stay towards the top, and that's where you want to be. This conference might only get 4 or 5 teams in the NCAA tournament. Miami needs to keep that in mind, stay in that top 4 or 5. And obviously, if this thing keeps going, you're really going to look at, can Miami, can they win this conference? I think it's a little early now, but 6-1. The Duke Florida State game is on ESPN right now. I have it on here. I'm going to flip it over as soon as we wrap this thing up, but it's tied at 28 there in the first half. Obviously Miami's played both those teams. Florida State on Saturday gets that rematch, home game. I touched on the crowd there. Miami had about almost 6,000 fans there tonight. I'll be curious to see what it looks like against Florida State. Certainly North Carolina brings in a lot of fans for games, but I'll be curious to see if the fan base kind of rallies around and kind of gets into this team. I'll continue to have more content. I had a lot of pregame stuff. I want to shout out to everybody on InsideTheU that read the articles. Kind of talked a lot about these keys that were very important, I thought, tonight. With the turnover margin was one. I talked about, Baycott, Waardenburg staying out of foul trouble, playing to his strengths, touched on that. Talked about the guards being aggressive. We saw that with Isaiah Wong and McGusty. So you guys saw the game. Pretty much everything Miami needed to go well went well tonight. They hit the 13 3-pointers, shooting 46% there as a team. And, I thought that was great. One of the things I didn't mention as the key, and you saw it tonight, but one of the things I thought about as the 5 keys of the game was the play of the bench. And Miami didn't score any bench points in the loss to Florida State. And I was thinking maybe they do need, contribute. Obviously, you're looking for more than 0, but I didn't feel like it was going to be a huge factor in this one. And you saw tonight. So the bench, I'm looking here, Joseph and Walker, 6 points. So Poplar, 9 points. And then the walk-on Osterbrook gets a late free throw. So not a huge performance from the bench. And I think Miami, they're rolling out who they have. Their 5 guys, their 5 starters are going to be their guys. They're the guys that are going to play almost over 30 minutes, every single one of them. I think Walker and Poplar or Joseph, a combination of a 7 to 8 on the rotation, and maybe a Miller or Gak in that kind of 9 spot. But really, I think Miami wants to go kind of 7 guys, stretch it to 8, just a little bit. But that's Miami has its identity, and Jim Larranaga teams are at its best when they have that identity, when they have that veteran leadership, and they have that. You kind of heard Coach Davis talking about how they're missing it at North Carolina. Miami has it. They've got a lot of 6-year guys that want to do everything they can to win, and that's kind of what we're seeing tonight. We saw it tonight. That's what we're seeing this season. So Miami 14-4. Definitely should be excited about this team. As you can see with North Carolina, I felt like I said this a while ago, and I'm not backing down. I thought North Carolina was the second best team in the conference. I thought Duke was the best. Miami, beats both of them. So where does that put Miami? I think it puts them definitely towards in this top group. We'll see how things kind of go moving forward, but I think you can be excited because of the quality of opponent that they are beating in Miami or in Duke and North Carolina. They have good teams, and I still think these teams. I think North Carolina will still have things figured out. They're still a tough team, but Miami made them look bad tonight. It happens sometimes, and Miami just has to keep it moving and get the win against Florida State. So I want to wrap this up. It's been a long one tonight. I want to thank everybody for jumping on. I appreciate everybody's support. Enjoy the comments. I'll have plenty of stuff kind of leading up to the Florida State game. Hopefully we can do this again, another live post-game show there. Hopefully we can continue to get the interest up, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the team. I want to thank everybody. And also, I don't like to cross over too much, but definitely stay locked into the website and the channel for more football coverage as well. Also, I've already reached out about some baseball stuff. Baseball practices are starting January 28th. I haven't even mentioned that on the website. So the exclusive information here at the end of the live stream. So I want to thank you for that. A lot going on in Miami. I'm going to work on some more basketball stuff. I have another football article coming up. So I want to thank everybody. Thanks for your support, and take care.